Hello guys, this will be a little bit different than usual. Although I recorded already the update for today, which will be stitched after this segment. Nothing fancy or exciting outside of usual daily update, but I wanted to record this as an extra and put it in front because the title of today's episode is called Echo Part 1 Review. So today I decided to review a book from Pt.1, aka Dirty Sci-Fi Buddha. You can check his blog and the books in the links that I provided in the blog post, but maybe it's too far-fetched to call it a review, but I tried my best. I'm not a professional reviewer, so take it with a pinch of salt. I read a lot of books in fiction genre in my life. I started a lot around fantasy books, but then I switched or I kind of expanded to sci-fi books and likes of Isaac Asimov, Brian Aldiss, Orson Card, and other authors that write about near or far future. And Kent Wayne, I only knew him as a Dirty Sci-Fi Buddha because when I started my journey and my blog and the journal on WordPress, he was one of the first people to actually subscribe to my updates. And because I was posting every day, he started, I hope, reading those updates and my struggles and my journey of trying to build the habit of writing every single day and also recording an audio and then video update every day. And to be honest, he was one of, if not one person that liked pretty much every post that I write. So every single day or every second day, I was getting a like specifically from him. And while it might feel like nothing because we live in an era of people getting hundreds or thousands of millions of likes and views, but for me, even though I use the tool for just myself and you know to keep myself accountable, that helped a lot that someone is out there, even though I didn't know him personally, that kind of roots for me in a way to keep going. So it was definitely encouraging to keep going, and that extra element, signal to keep going, that somebody has your back, is very important in doing anything really. So I decided to check his musings and his blog, and I saw that he writes books, novels, and I think even a comic book or the graphical novel, which I didn't check yet, but I've put on my list his books to check, but because I'm kind of chaotic and unorganized person, I didn't get a chance to read it until recently. And I picked the Echo series because first, I like to read series of books, mainly because I think I like when I invest time in reading books, I like the book either to be a saga or something like a series, or a really big long book, to make sure that I don't end up with a feeling of disappointment about something ending. I guess that's probably the reason for me to pick usually not single books, but rather series or sagas or longer books. So Echo was like a natural thing for me. I wanted to give it a shot. I bought the first part of Echo. I don't remember if I actually bought it or Was it one of the Kent's promotional moments where you could get Echo for nothing or almost nothing just to promote the series? But I decided to get it on Kindle, and long time after, which was just recently, I decided to just force myself to start reading it. And I downloaded that on my Mac because I obviously spent so much time in front of the laptop. So I wanted to eliminate every possible friction to get it going. And I forced myself. I admit I forced myself to read the first 2-3 chapters every day or every second day. I was sitting there and at least reading a couple of pages to make sure that I get that hook up if it's good, and I did, because it is good. So first of all, even though Kent is not a seasoned writer per se that you would know by the name, and obviously we won't be, there's no reason to compare him to anyone, because every writer starts somewhere. Nobody starts as Stephen King. I'm quite surprised in a positive way, and that's a compliment, I think, that Kent's writing is very mature, because he's not a recognized writer as those famous people. He still is not very far in terms of maturity of how he writes. And I'm not a professional, I'm not a book reviewer, so I might be wrong, but from a perspective of an average Joe, and these are people that are actually reading the books, obviously you want critics to be appreciating your work, but in the end, the just regular people are enjoying your books. They are paying for them, and they are spreading the word about it, about your art of writing. So I think I went through enough to at least have basics to say something about the level of writing of Kent's and Echo Part 1. And initially, I must admit, like with many books, I struggled, because it's very hard when you don't know the character, when you don't know the setting, when you don't know the whole kind of atmosphere and the environment. You need to force yourself to some extent to read through the first couple of chapters, but then I quickly got hooked up. I don't know if it's because of the personal view or personal perception of the main character to be similar to myself as a reader. Obviously, I wasn't in military. I'm not in the future. I didn't go through the strenuous trainings and didn't kill anyone, but from a character perspective, there's a lot of commonality, and I think that's the also success of every good book, where readers can associate themselves with the main character. And I hope I don't butcher the name of the main character, but Atreya is the main character. He's I don't want to spoil it too much, but he's a professional, military trained person, high up in ranks in terms of the experience and level of skills, that goes through certain struggles in being that kind of jarhead or a person of military upbringing and very strict and procedural thinking, to considering all his life being to some extent modeled and manipulated by the environment that he's in, and slowly opening himself due to influence of another person in the book, Verus, and it's a woman that is highly skilled, is some form of spiritual guide in the environment or in the setting, but the whole journey of Atria is slowly hooking you in and kind of sucking you in. And to be honest, I glided through the second part of Echo Part 1 quite fast, just because I got the momentum and it just clicked. The writing style of Kent had some elements that I first found a little bit annoying maybe, but I think it was my ego stepping in a little bit, because he tends to explain a lot of things in, I felt like, too much detail, but later on I learned to appreciate it, and with patience and open mind I realized that I'm actually liking it, because Ken himself spent time in military, I didn't, and he explained a lot of things military wise that I wouldn't probably understand, or I would keep reading the book missing certain elements, or missing the full understanding of certain elements, if not for those descriptions. Descriptions of battles or fights are very detailed, and the thoughts of Atria and the actual interactions are also described in many details, which you learn to appreciate and learn to like as it goes. So to be honest, I am halfway through the part 2 of Echo, but obviously I'll leave it until later. But I know for a fact that I will be reading the whole series. Even before I finished the first book, I bought the second part to ensure that I'm not having a gap in between finishing the book, the first part, and buying the second one, so I don't drop the ball and delay it, because then, you know, you lose a little bit of excitement, you lose a little bit of the plot, because you keep forgetting about certain details and what happened in the first part. So it's much harder to step into the second part. So it was already bought by me before I finished the first part, and I'm halfway through. So I guess it's time to buy the third part. But yeah, it's a good series already, and I'm confident in saying that the whole series is great. The only downside is that it seems like it has a finish. So I'm not sure if it's good or bad, because some books should be finished, some maybe shouldn't. Some drag for too long, some end up too quickly, but I'm not going with my thoughts too far into the future. I'll just appreciate what Kent wrote so far, and I wanted to recommend that to any person that likes to read sci-fi novels that are set in the far future, but with some references to our good old Earth. And you will understand that reference to old Earth once you start reading it. So thank you very much for listening for that long. I probably trimmed it a bit, but it's still a fairly long review, and I will stitch on top of it my regular update. So enjoy the rest of the video, and if you're a regular follower or reader or listener, then see you in the next episode. Hello, you beautiful legends, and welcome to Blunt Force Healing Podcast. This is episode 4, day March 27th, 2025. As you can hear, it's pretty windy. We are now on our walk with Elizabeth. We are just back from our trip to Poland. We came back yesterday, but it was there was a lot of things that we needed to do at home. So Elizabeth missed on the walk yesterday, but she wanted to do one today. As you probably know, I mentioned yesterday that I would be going, well, I was driving at the time of recording to get my short walk, and I did. It was a pleasant evening. I was back in the car when it was already dark. It was quite cleansing mentally to be again and be around that ocean noise and quiet beach. So it was a good recovery and sleep. And today we dropped Julian at school a little bit earlier because they went to Letterkenny for some five-a-side soccer competition, while we came here to Snowla for a walk. And I visited the bakery shack to say hi to David, and that will be probably it for today. The only thing that I can think of for the rest of the day will be a lot of maintenance of the sauna, going to pick up some wood for the weekend, and sending a couple of things that we need to dispatch from the post office, and then just the dinner and the usual things. A lot of cleanup in the house because it needs a bit of refreshing after those days out. So not much highlights for today, so I won't be dragging it for too long. You can probably see there's a lot of certain types of keys out there. They are making different noises, but yeah, it's pretty windy, so I don't want to keep recording. I'm not even sure if you can hear me, so I'll check that up when I'm back home before uploading, if at all audible. But I don't want you to be annoyed by the wind, and I don't have anything else to say or update you about. So that's it. Thank you very much for tuning in. Have a great rest of the day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are on this beautiful planet. Stay tuned and see you again tomorrow.